Imagine this moment. The departures board flashes a cold message. Your train has been delayed indefinitely. At the same time, your phone won't stop buzzing. Your inbox feels like it's on fire with urgent emails demanding immediate attention. The meticulous plan you laid out for today, the sturdy fortress of order, has just collapsed completely in a matter of seconds. A familiar sense of powerlessness begins to creep in. We spend most of our lives trying to control the external world. We try to bend schedules, manage other people's reactions, and steer outcomes to our will. But the undeniable truth is that life, in its chaotic nature, rarely obeys our commands. Amid this storm of uncontrollable events, is there anything we truly own? The answer is yes. Always and absolutely, there is one final choice left. It isn't the choice over what happens, but the right to choose how we interpret what happens and how we respond to it. This is not passive acceptance. This is the most powerful and practical form of control. It is the path that one of the most powerful men in history, the Roman emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius, disciplined himself to walk every day. Today, we are not talking about changing the world. We are talking about something greater. How to actually control your own mind. This is not manipulation or self-deception. This is the practical Stoic path to governing your judgments, directing your attention, and mastering your actions, even when, and especially when, life refuses to cooperate. Continuing the promise of that final autonomy, the path we're about to explore today is Stoicism. This is not some lofty, impractical philosophy reserved for sages in ivory towers. It's a practical training system, forged on battlefields, in political courts, and in the inner struggles of people forced to face unimaginable pressure. In our modern world, one of constant connection, relentless push notifications, and pressure to respond instantly, this ancient wisdom becomes strikingly relevant. We live in an environment chaotic with information and emotion. Our attention is fragmented. Our inner world is pulled in every direction by external demands, and we're continually pushed into impulsive reactivity instead of deliberate action. We burn out trying to control things that were never ours to control. And this is the central promise of this journey. By understanding and applying the core principles of Stoicism, you will gain profoundly practical benefits. You will learn to make calmer, clearer decisions, even in the eye of the storm. You will drastically reduce overreaction, those explosive emotions that so often lead to regret. And most importantly, you will reclaim true autonomy, the felt sense that you are at the helm, the one choosing your actions, even when your environment refuses to cooperate. This is not a vague philosophical promise. It is a measurable outcome. Think about the problems you're wrestling with right now, the projects veering off track, the conflicts in your relationships, the anxiety about the future. Imagine that just this week, you could handle those very same issues with only half the mental noise, half the worry, half the useless distraction. What takes its place? Clearer priorities. The ability to see through the chaos and identify what truly matters, what is actually within your control, and what is simply noise to be accepted and ignored. Throughout this video, we'll break down the specific psychological tools Marcus Aurelius used every day. We'll explore how to distinguish between what happens to us and how we judge it, how to focus our will on what is up to us, and how to build a resilient inner fortress. This is the journey of reclaiming lost power, the power over your own mind. And before we can build that resilient inner fortress, we have to honestly face the strategy most of us are unconsciously running every day. We must diagnose the illness accurately before we reach for the cure. The default strategy of the modern age, the failing strategy, is the relentless effort to control what's outside. Deep down, we believe that peace, happiness, or a sense of success will only arrive after we've arranged the chaotic world around us into our preferred order. We try to fix other people, to mold them to our expectations in our relationships. We try to force project timelines, fighting a hopeless battle against the reality of inevitable delays. We obsess over algorithms, trying to crack some secret code to win external recognition or success. We pour a massive amount of mental energy into managing other people's impressions of us, controlling their reactions, and even predicting the future. What's the result of this endless war against reality? A profound exhaustion. Not just physical fatigue, but a brutal erosion of the soul. We grow irritable. Our mood becomes alarmingly fragile, because it now hinges entirely on whether the external world obeys the fanciful rules we've set. One negative comment knocks us off course for an entire day. A minor traffic hiccup completely shatters our calm. We live in a constant state of tension, because deep down, we know we're trying to shoulder an impossible task. And here is Stoicism's razor-sharp diagnosis. Our suffering, anxiety, and sense of helplessness don't actually come from external events. They come from our stubborn insistence on investing our entire happiness and inner peace in things we can never control. The Stoics point out that we've made a catastrophic mistake. We do not control final outcomes. We only control our choices, our effort, and our intent. We do not control other people's actions. We only control our own responses. The persistent anxiety you feel isn't caused by a chaotic world. That anxiety is the direct, inevitable consequence of chasing externals. It is the mind's groan when it's forced to do the impossible. By staking our whole happiness on uncertain results, we've sentenced ourselves to live in a state of permanent insecurity. We have been running a failing strategy. We are trying to command the storm instead of learning to master our own ship. To reclaim peace, we must completely redefine what we mean by control. So, when a Stoic talks about controlling the mind, what do they actually mean? Picking up directly from that open question, we go straight to the heart of the matter. When a Stoic speaks of controlling the mind, we must immediately strip away the distortions and popular misunderstandings that mass culture has planted. This is not about manipulating other people's psychology. This is not some mystical power to bend reality to your will. And most importantly, this is certainly not the denial or suppression of emotion. Stoicism never asks you to become an emotionless machine, or to pretend that pain, loss, or anger do not exist. Instead, controlling the mind in Stoicism means something far more disciplined and practical: inner governance. Imagine your mind as a kingdom. You are the ruler of that kingdom. Chaos, most of the time, does not truly come from events beyond the borders, other people, unfortunate circumstances, unexpected mishaps. The real chaos comes from indiscipline, from unconsidered reactivity, and from rebellion inside your own kingdom. Inner governance is the ability to wisely lead three core subjects residing in that kingdom: impressions. These are the raw data the world throws at you through the senses. They are bare, objective facts. It's raining. That colleague just interrupted me. The message was read, but there's no reply. Judgments. These are the layers of meaning, the interpretations, the narratives you choose to attach to those impressions. This is where objective reality gets tinted by subjective perspective. It's raining, and today is ruined. He interrupted me because he doesn't respect me. They aren't replying because they're deliberately ignoring me. Impulses. These are the urges to act or react that arise directly from your judgments, feeling that today is ruined, wanting to cancel everything, feeling disrespected, wanting to attack or criticize back, feeling ignored, wanting to confront angrily. Inner governance, therefore, is the art and science of creating a pause. It is the ability to calmly observe an impression, to reason carefully before imposing a judgment, and to allow only those impulses that align with your core values to be carried out. But how do we enact this governance consistently? We use the core lens, the most basic diagnostic tool of every Stoic, the dichotomy of control. This is the foundational principle, the first core concept we must master. It was distilled most succinctly and powerfully by Epictetus, a man who was once enslaved, who endured unimaginable physical pain, yet rose to become one of the greatest masters of this philosophy and a profound influence on Marcus Aurelius himself. In his handbook, Epictetus opens with a decisive declaration that cleanly divides the entirety of human experience. Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. The entire universe of human experience, according to the Stoics, splits into two categories: things that are up to us and things that are not up to us. What things are up to us? That is the inner realm we just described. It is our judgments. It is the intention behind each action. It is the effort we choose to invest. It is the value system we decide to live by. This is the only domain over which we have full authority, 100% sovereignty. No matter how chaotic the outside world becomes, no person and no event can force you to judge something as good or bad without your consent. No one can control your intention. What things are not up to us? The simple answer is everything else. That includes your body. You can care for it, but you cannot fully control whether it gets sick or ages. It includes your possessions. You can work to earn them, but you cannot control whether they are lost in a market crash or an accident. It includes your reputation. You can act with integrity, but you cannot control other people's opinions of you. It includes the weather, the traffic, the economy, and the actions of those around you. And here is the crux, the point most of us get wrong. The outcomes of your efforts also belong to this second category. You can control 100% of your effort, up to you, but the final result, not up to you, is still governed by thousands of external factors, by chance, and by other people's actions. The source of all human anxiety, fear, anger, and frustration, according to Stoicism, originates in a catastrophic confusion. We struggle desperately and hopelessly to control what is not up to us, while neglecting, abandoning, and outsourcing what is up to us to external forces. We worry about outcomes. We get angry at other people's opinions. We suffer over events that have already happened, And at the same time, we let our judgments run wild, allowing external impressions to trigger impulsive, undisciplined reactions within our own kingdom. Marcus Aurelius, the man who faced unending border wars, a devastating plague, and countless political plots and betrayals from those closest to him, understood this more deeply than anyone. He could not control the enemy. He could not control the plague. He could not control betrayal. But he could exercise absolute control over how he, as a human being and as an emperor, met them. Stoic mind control, therefore, is a great act of liberation. It is the shift of your focus from a futile, exhausting war with the external world back to mastering your internal kingdom. It is finding peace and strength, not by changing the world, but by changing the lens through which you see the world, and the choices you make within your own mind. Exactly. So how do we apply the dichotomy of control in practice? In the very first moment an external event collides with our awareness. What do we do? This is when we must use the first practical tool, and perhaps the most foundational tool in the entire Stoic arsenal, the art of drilling into the space between impression and judgment. We need to understand these two concepts in real life. An impression is what happens automatically. It's the raw data, the stimulus from the outside world. Another car cuts you off on the highway. Your boss sends an email with a single line. "We need to talk." A friend cancels at the last minute. These are objective facts. They are what they are. They are neutral. They are neither good nor bad. They simply occur. In modern psychology, we call this a stimulus. A judgment is what comes after. It's the story we tell ourselves about the impression. It's the meaning we assign to the event. This is where all our suffering begins. A judgment is a choice. That car cuts you off. You instantly add the judgment. That jerk, he did it on purpose to disrespect me. My day is ruined. Your boss wants to talk. Your judgment. I'm about to be fired. I must have done something terribly wrong. This is a disaster. Your friend cancels. Your judgment. They don't value me. I'm not a priority. For most of us, in the rush of modern life, there is no gap between these two. Impression and judgment fuse into one. They happen almost simultaneously, as an automatic neural reflex. Event occurs. Judgment is triggered. Negative emotion explodes. Impulsive reaction. We become enslaved to this chain. We believe the external event itself caused our anger or anxiety. The Stoics say, no, it is your judgment that caused it. As Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now." So, what is the practical technique here? It's using your reason like a lever to create space. The moment a strong impression hits, especially a negative or shocking one, your first task is not to act, but to pause and label it. You must say to yourself, clearly and consciously, "This is an impression, and it is not what it appears to be." Or, "An event has occurred. That car cut me off. That is a fact. My judgment that he's a terrible person, and my anger are something separate, an add-on I'm supplying. I just received a short email from my boss. That is an impression. My fear that I'm about to be fired is a judgment, a story I'm imagining. By this simple act of labeling, this is an impression, you've worked a small miracle. You've broken the automatic chain reaction. You've separated stimulus from response. You've reclaimed control over the only thing that truly belongs to you, your power to choose how you interpret the world. When you call it an impression, you strip it of its immediate power over you. You turn it from a frightening fact into a data point to be examined. You create a psychological buffer. In that buffer, in the gap you've just created, your freedom lives. You can choose not to attach the judgment bad to it. You can choose to view it objectively. The car cut you off. Perhaps the driver is rushing to the hospital. Your boss wants to talk. Perhaps it's about a new opportunity. This technique does not mean you won't feel startled or anxious at first. The Stoics are realists. They know those initial physiological reactions are automatic, but they draw a clear line between feeling and assent. You can feel a surge of anger, but you don't have to assent to it. You don't have to say, yes, this anger is justified, and I should act on it. You can simply observe it. Ah, this is the feeling of anger arising from my judgment. Interesting. But I'm not going to let it steer. This is the first step to mastering the inner kingdom. Before you can decide how to act, you must reclaim the right to judge. By labeling impressions, you shift from a passive reactor to an active observer, ready to choose your response. After we've successfully created that precious gap between impression and judgment, we immediately face an important question. What do we do with that space now? Once we've stopped the automatic reaction, where do we direct the mental energy we've just freed? If we don't actively fill that space, the chaos of the outside world will quickly flood back in and reclaim it. And this is when we deploy the second core tool, deliberate focus. If the dichotomy of control is the map, then deliberate focus is the compass and the rudder. It is the relentless practice of steering our attention, the most finite and valuable resource we possess. Consider the default state of our minds in the modern world, scattered. We sit in a meeting, but our mind is worrying about last night's argument. We eat dinner with family, but our mind is rehearsing tomorrow's presentation. We work on a task, but our mind is fixated on a negative comment on social media. Our mind is everywhere, except the only place it can actually make an impact, right here, right now, within the scope of what is up to us. The Stoics call this uncontrolled wandering, a leak of vital energy. Every minute you spend worrying about a future you cannot control, ruminating on a past you cannot change, or stewing over someone else's actions, you are tragically squandering the very energy that should be used to build your own life. Stoicism's solution to this fragmentation is a filter that's simple, yet incredibly powerful. It's a question you must train yourself to ask dozens, even hundreds, of times a day, whenever you feel anxious, overwhelmed, or distracted. Right now, does this problem depend on me? Or more specifically, what right now is up to me? This question works like an anchor. It immediately pulls your mind out of the turbulent sea of things not up to you, and brings it back to the safe island of things up to you. When you feel overwhelmed by the scope of a massive project, the answer to that question is not, finish the whole project. That's impossible right now. The real answer is, Writing the next email is up to me. Drafting the first paragraph is up to me. Making that phone call is up to me. This question breaks overwhelm into small, controllable actions. When you're stuck in traffic and anger rises, the answer is not, make this line of cars move. The answer is, my attitude right now is up to me. My conduct, not honking pointlessly, is up to me. How I use this time, listening to a lesson, reflecting, or simply practicing patience, is up to me. Deliberate focus isn't only about tasks. It's also about conduct and attitude. These are two things that are always up to us, even when everything else has been stripped away. This continual redirection of attention is the core of mental discipline. It's training the mind like a muscle. Every time you catch it wandering into the land of the uncontrollable, and you will catch it hundreds of times, and you gently, firmly bring it back, you are strengthening your inner fortress. Marcus Aurelius's entire Meditations is essentially a personal log of him performing this very act, continually pulling his mind back from despair, anger, and the distractions of war and politics, to focus on the task at hand and on his own virtues. But how do we make this focus practical and resilient in the face of reality? Here, we use a powerful linguistic technique that the outline calls bounded statements. This is a deep psychological reframing. Instead of centering on outcomes, you define your action with a specific formula. I will do X, the task, to standard Y, virtue effort, regardless of Z, uncontrollable outcome as distraction. Witness the power of this formula. I will write this report, X, with absolute diligence and honesty, Y, regardless of whether my boss praises it or not, Z, or I will have this difficult conversation, X, speaking calmly and fairly, Y, regardless of how the other person reacts, Z, or I will go to the gym, X, giving my best effort, Y, regardless of how tired or unmotivated I feel, Z. The psychological shift here is liberating. You have separated your action from anxiety about results. Your victory is no longer the outcome, Z, which you cannot control. Your victory is now simply completing the task, X, to the ethical standard you've chosen, Y. You have redefined success entirely within the boundaries of your control. This is the true meaning of deliberate focus. It's not just ordinary focus. It's a strategic, moment-by-moment reallocation of your life's energy. It's the conscious decision to stop funding anxiety with your attention, and instead to invest that attention in meaningful, ethical action, right here and right now. To truly grasp the transformative power of deliberate focus, we have to pull it out of the realm of pure theory and watch how it operates in the messy reality of life. Let's begin with a powerful metaphor. Imagine you are the captain of a ship at sea. Most of the time, the waters are calm. But one day, without warning, a violent storm slams into you. The sky darkens, towering waves rise, and the wind howls. This storm is the world of things, not up to you. You cannot command the wind to stop. You cannot order the waves to be still. You cannot make the sky clear. An inexperienced captain, someone running the failing strategy, will pour all his energy into the storm. He panics. He curses the sky. He tries to wrench the helm, desperately fighting the waves themselves, an impossible attempt to control the uncontrollable. He's reacting, squandering precious strength and pushing his ship and crew into greater danger. The storm has swallowed his entire attention. Now, consider the Stoic captain, the one who practices deliberate focus. The instant the storm hits, he deploys his filter. He doesn't waste a single second asking, "Why is this happening to me?" The only question he asks is, "What, right now, is up to me?" And the answers arrive with sharp, commanding clarity. Securing the cargo is up to me. Checking the lines and sails is up to me. Holding the helm, not to fight the storm, but to steer the ship through it, is up to me. Staying calm and issuing clear, decisive orders to the crew is up to me. Inside, he repeats the bounded statements we defined. I will hold this helm, task, with all the strength and skill I possess, standard, regardless of whether the next wave crashes over the deck, outcome. I will give the next order, task, with composure and courage, standard, regardless of how afraid I feel, outcome. Notice what has happened. The storm still rages. The ship may still take damage. Outcomes are never guaranteed. But the captain has taken full command within the sphere of his control. He has redefined his victory. Victory is not getting through the storm unscathed, an outcome not up to him. Victory is acting like a competent, brave, rational captain, a behavior entirely up to him. He has answered the storm with his virtues. Now, let's bring this metaphor into everyday life. Leave the ocean. Step into a conference room. You're in a high-stakes meeting, and suddenly a colleague publicly criticizes your project. They point out flaws you may have missed, and their tone feels harsh, almost attacking. This is your storm. What's the untrained default response? The immediate impression is, I'm being attacked. The judgment is, this is unfair. He's trying to embarrass me. The impulse is to defend. You want to interrupt, counterattack. What about your project? Make excuses. I didn't have enough time. Or shut down altogether. Your attention instantly locks onto your colleague, not up to you, and the criticism, already said, not up to you. Instead, you use the filter. You take a deep breath. You ask, what, right now, is up to me? The answers, listening through to the end without interrupting, is up to me. Regulating my breathing is up to me. Separating useful data, real flaws, from delivery style, harsh tone, is up to me. Choosing my response is up to me. Then you issue a bounded statement to yourself. I will receive this feedback, task, with an objective and calm mind, standard, regardless of the speaker's intention, outcome. So instead of reacting impulsively, you choose a deliberate response. You wait until they finish and say, thank you for pointing those out. On your second point, could you clarify the specific data you're referencing? I want to make sure I'm understanding the issue correctly. What did you just do? You controlled your mind. You refused to hand someone else the power to dictate your reaction. You turned a potential attack into a difficult opportunity to gather information. You acted with composure and professionalism. You won in the only arena that truly matters, the arena of your own choices. This is the illustration of deliberate focus. It is not a tool that makes problems disappear. It is a tool that concentrates your entire mental energy on the only levers you can actually pull. We've traveled an important path. We've learned how to create a gap between external stimuli and our inner judgments. We've also explored how to focus our will on the safe island of what is up to us, like a captain holding the helm in the middle of a storm. But now, a core question remains. Once we've carved out that gap, and once we've focused our will, what will guide our choices? In the tense meeting example, why do we choose composure instead of striking back? In the traffic jam example, why do we choose patience instead of anger? Focus alone isn't enough. Focus needs a compass. A criminal can be intensely focused on his actions too. What distinguishes a sage's action from a tyrant's? The answer lies in the fourth tool, and perhaps the most formative one in Stoicism, the value hierarchy, or, put simply, placing virtue first. This is Marcus Aurelius's inner operating system. Most of us live with an inverted, conflicted value system. We say we value honesty, health, and family. Yet, in decisive moments, we routinely sacrifice those higher values for two things that are far more tempting: comfort and convenience. We want to be honest, value, but we tell a small lie to avoid a difficult conversation, comfort. We want to be healthy, value, but we choose fast food because it's quick, convenience. We want to be present with our family, value, but we scroll our phones because it's easier, convenience. When stress hits, when we're tired, pressured, or provoked, this already fragile value system collapses. Stress triggers our primal instinct to seek the path of least resistance. We make choices we later regret, not because we're bad people, but because we never clearly defined what truly matters. Stoicism's solution to this inner chaos is an act of radical, decisive discernment. It establishes an unbreakable hierarchy. A clear mandate Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of every day. Character always outweighs comfort. Character always outweighs convenience. In this system, character or virtue is the only thing of true value. It's how we conduct ourselves, our integrity, courage, justice, and self-command. Everything else, comfort, convenience, wealth, reputation, even health, is preferred but not important. They're great to have, but they hold no intrinsic worth and must never be allowed to dictate our actions. This isn't abstract theorizing. It's a practical decision-making tool. Its power rests on one principle. You must decide your standards before the stress arrives. You cannot forge your character in the middle of a crisis. A crisis only reveals the character you've built or failed to build during calmer days. The real work must be done beforehand. You have to preload your decisions. Here's the practice. Identify 3 or 4 non-negotiable behaviors. These will be your compass. Let's use the examples from the outline: honesty, diligence, and calm. You sit down in a quiet moment and make a conscious decision. I am an honest person. This isn't a wish, it's an identity. You decide that, regardless of circumstance, you will not lie for convenience or to avoid discomfort. When the test comes, when a small lie could save you trouble, you don't need to deliberate. The decision was made in advance. You simply execute it. You decide, I am a diligent person. This means you do your work with maximal effort, that which is up to you, regardless of how tired you feel, comfort, and regardless of the final outcome, not up to you. When the temptation of convenience, cutting corners, procrastinating appears, your compass already points the way. You decide, I am a calm person. This means you rule your inner kingdom. When someone insults you, stress arrives, comfort urges you to shout back, but your non-negotiable standard of calm activates. You decided long ago that you would never hand over control of your response to someone else. This is what Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, who could have had every comfort and convenience, actually did. His entire Meditations is a self-authored drill to choose character over ease, again and again. When he was tired in the morning, he chose duty, character, over a warm bed, comfort. When betrayed, he chose forbearance, character, over revenge, emotional gratification. He distilled the whole philosophy into an immortal line: waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. This value hierarchy is the engine of mind control. It simplifies thousands of hard life choices into a single question. In this situation, will I act from my character, or will I choose comfort and convenience? By answering that question consistently, you build an unshakable identity and a peace within that does not depend on the turbulence of the world outside. These definitions may sound noble, but they only truly matter when thrown into the furnace of everyday reality. The power of this value hierarchy doesn't lie in how elegant it looks on paper, but in how it performs when faced with the temptation of the easier path. Let's examine the 3 pillars we've identified: honesty, diligence, and calm. Start with honesty. You're working on a group project, and you realize you've made a serious calculation error. This mistake could set the whole team back a few days. No one else knows, at least not yet. Immediately, 2 paths appear. The path of comfort and convenience whispers in your ear, just stay quiet. Maybe no one will notice. Or subtly blame unclear inputs or another team member. This path is incredibly tempting because it spares you the embarrassment, confrontation, and immediate discomfort of owning the failure. But you've already pre-loaded your decision. You sat down on a quiet morning and chose to aim your compass at honesty. You defined yourself as an honest person, regardless of circumstance. Because this decision was made in advance, you don't waste precious energy on an inner debate. The battle ends before it begins. You accept short-term discomfort as the price of character. You stand up, walk to your manager, and say, I've just found an error in the report. It's my mistake. I take full responsibility, and here's the plan I propose to fix it immediately. In that moment, you might feel awkward or pressured, but deep down, your mind is steady. You've chosen character over convenience. You've acted as the person you decided to become. Now, consider diligence. It's 6 p.m. You've worked hard all day. Your body is tired and your mind is drained. There's still a crucial part of the work that needs to be finished to ensure quality. Comfort shouts, that's enough. Go home. You deserve a break. You can finish in the morning. No one's going to die. Convenience adds, just slap something together to get it done. No one checks that closely anyway, but your compass is set. You decided you are a diligent person. That means you finish what you start, to the highest standard you can manage, regardless of how you feel. This is where the value hierarchy becomes an action mandate, not a mood. You take a deep breath. You acknowledge the fatigue, but refuse to let it dictate your behavior. You sit back down and work for 1 more hour. You complete the task to the standard you set for yourself. The result? You may go home later and more tired, but you don't carry the weight of regret. You don't carry the erosion of self-respect that comes from choosing the easy way. You honored your commitment to yourself. You chose character over comfort. And finally, the most powerful example: calm. Imagine you are Marcus Aurelius. You are the most powerful man in the world. You have absolute authority to do whatever you want. A general brings bad news from the front. A politician flatters you with empty words. Someone you trusted and elevated betrays you. What is the comfort in those moments? An explosion, fury, using your power to punish immediately, to vent your anger, to seek the primal gratification of retaliation. It's the easiest path. Anyone can do that. But Marcus decided in advance. He decided he would be just, rational, and self-controlled. So when news arrived of Avidius Cassius's revolt, one of his finest and most trusted generals, his response wasn't rage, comfort. It was sorrow, and an effort to seek reconciliation and forgiveness, character. He chose calm, not because he felt no anger. He certainly did. But because he had decided that anger would not be permitted to command his actions. He understood that the comfort of emotional outburst is a trap. It makes you a slave to external events. Self-command, though far more difficult, is real freedom. In every case, the story is the same. Comfort and convenience always offer an alluring promise of immediate relief from pain, boredom, or confrontation. Applying a value hierarchy is recognizing that this relief is an illusion. It buys you a pleasant moment at the cost of long-term erosion of character. These examples show that choosing the harder path, the path of virtue, is not punishment. It is the ultimate act of defending your inner fortress. We've analyzed the toolkit. We've identified the map, the dichotomy of control. We've learned how to create space, impression versus judgment. We've found the compass and the rudder, deliberate focus, and we've defined our destination, the value hierarchy. But even the most perfect toolkit is useless if it just sits in the box. Stoic philosophy isn't something to admire, it's something to live. So how do we practically integrate these ancient principles into our modern lives, already too busy, too loud, and overloaded? How do we turn theory into everyday action? This is the take-home section. This is no longer philosophy. This is an action plan. We'll split it into 2 parts. The daily protocol, what you do to prepare and review, and the field drills, what you do in the exact moment the storm hits. Daily protocol. Build the foundation. You can't build a fortress while it's under attack. You have to build it in peacetime. This daily protocol is the act of constructing and reinforcing your inner fortress in just a few minutes a day. Morning. Set intention. 5 minutes. Before the outside world hits you with emails, news, and demands, you need to own your morning. Preview the day. Look at your schedule. Identify potential friction points. A tough meeting, a boring task, a tense conversation. Set intention. This is when you activate the value hierarchy. Don't just think about what you will do. Decide who you will be. Today, I will act with calm. In the 10 a.m. meeting, I will listen fairly, no matter what's said. When I face delays, I will choose patience. You are preloading your moral decisions. Embrace friction. This is the most important step. Practice what the outline calls premeditatio malorum, premeditation of adversity. Take a page from Marcus Aurelius's notebook. He began his day reminding himself, "Today I shall meet meddling, ingratitude, arrogance, deceit, jealousy, and surliness." This isn't pessimism. It's psychological preparation. By anticipating that things will go off course and people will be difficult, you strip those events of their power to shock you. When a coworker snaps at you, your response isn't, "Why is this happening?" but, "Ah, there it is, just as expected, and I've already decided to respond with calm." Evening. The short audit, 5 minutes. At day's end, before you fall asleep, spend 5 minutes reviewing your compass. This was a nightly practice of Seneca, another great Stoic. Ask yourself honest, non-judgmental questions. Where did I keep control of my mind today? E.g., when the project was delayed, I focused on solutions rather than complaining. Acknowledge this small win. Where did I lose it today? E.g., I snapped at my kids just because they were noisy. I wasted an hour worrying about an email I can't control. What could I do differently? This isn't for self-punishment. It's a strategy review. Tomorrow, if I feel stressed, I will take a deep breath before responding. This protocol is a feedback loop. Evening informs morning. You continually adjust and reinforce your fortress. Don't try to be perfect. Just aim to be a little better than yesterday. Field drills. On-the-spot techniques. The daily protocol prepares you, but you still need tools for when the real fight breaks out. Here's what to do in the moment. Drill number 1. The pause situation. A colleague just fired off a harsh email about your work. A driver cut you off. You feel a surge of anger, defensiveness, or anxiety. Action. 1 deep breath. Count to 5. Why it works. This simple technique interrupts reflexive replies. It is the real-world creation of the gap. In those 5 seconds, you stall the amygdala, emotional reaction, and allow the prefrontal cortex, reason and decision-making, to catch up. In a world of instant messages, impulsive comments, and snap reactions, the pause is your ultimate weapon. It's the difference between a response you'll regret for weeks and a measured, professional reply. Drill number 2. Reframing situation. You've just received bad news. Your project gets canceled. You didn't get the promotion. Your mind plunges into a victim spiral. Why is it always me? This is so unfair. Action. Consciously swap the question. Drop "why me" and replace it with the Stoic question. What can I use this for? Why it works. This is a revolutionary psychological shift. Why me seeks pity and keeps you stuck in the past. What can I use this for seeks opportunity and points you toward action. It moves you from passive victim to active agent. Project canceled? I can use this newfound time to learn a new skill, or support another critical project. Harshly criticized? I can use this feedback to extract any kernel of truth, if there is one, or use it as a perfect chance to practice calm and refuse to let others' opinions shake me. Next action. After reframing, choose the next right action. Don't freeze. Just do the next small, controllable thing. Got laid off? The next right action isn't get a new job. It's open my laptop and update my resume. By pairing reframing with small, deliberate action, you turn the obstacle into the way. This is how Stoicism is lived. It isn't an overnight transformation. It's a daily practice. The morning/evening protocol builds the structure, and the field drills carry you through the chaos. By applying these tools, you begin the process of reclaiming control over the only thing that truly matters, your own inner kingdom. Of course, like any practical philosophy that demands a deep shift in perception, the Stoic path isn't always understood correctly. As we begin to apply it, we'll face two common criticisms, two traps that we or those around us might raise. The first, and most common criticism is, isn't Stoicism just emotional suppression? Isn't it trying to turn us into cold, unfeeling robots who deny human pain and joy? This is a profound and dangerous misunderstanding. Stoicism never asks you not to feel. You are human. When you lose a loved one, you will feel grief. When you're unjustly insulted, you will feel that initial physiological surge of anger. The Stoics are entirely realistic. They acknowledge these initial reactions as automatic and unavoidable. The core difference lies in the word assent. You can notice anger rising, but you don't have to obey its orders. You can acknowledge deep sadness, but you don't have to let it make decisions for you. Emotions are noticed, observed, and acknowledged, but it is your rational judgment that governs and directs the final action. You feel the storm, but you don't let the storm rip the helm from your hands. The second criticism is just as common. Isn't this philosophy too passive? If you simply accept everything that's not up to you, won't you just sit there and let the world do whatever it wants? The answer is exactly the opposite. Stoicism is not passivity. It is ultimate strategy. It doesn't say don't act. It says, don't waste your action on useless levers. This philosophy demands that you ruthlessly prioritize what you can control: your effort, your choices, your attitude, your behavior, and then act decisively, courageously, and persistently within that sphere. You are not passive. You're refusing to wage a futile war against the wind, and instead pouring all your strength into rowing and trimming the sails as effectively as possible. It's the difference between a panicked soldier firing wildly into the dark and a strategic marksman, patient and steady, waiting for a clear target in his sights. It is proactive, purposeful, and extraordinarily powerful. Our journey through the inner fortress of Stoicism now comes to its end. We began by diagnosing a harsh truth. Our default strategy, the exhausting effort to control the external world, is a failing strategy that leads to anxiety and burnout. We have redefined mind control. It is not about changing the world, but about methodically mastering our own inner kingdom, our judgments, our focused will, and our value hierarchy. We have learned how to create a gap between stimulus and response, how to continually pull our attention back to what is up to us, and how to build a moral compass that puts character above comfort. We have seen how to turn these theories into daily protocols and field drills, but ultimately, this is not just a collection of techniques or wise advice. This is a fundamental question of identity. When you practice these tools consistently, even as small daily wins, you are not merely using Stoicism. You are gradually becoming someone else. You are forging and strengthening a new identity, an inner declaration that shapes every action you take. I am the one who controls my mind, and therefore my choices, regardless of what the external world does. This is supreme autonomy. Real power does not lie in whether the world obeys your will, but in whether you keep your compass steady, even when the storm rages at its fiercest. If this exploration has been valuable to you, subscribe so we can continue these deep conversations together. And now, turn this philosophy into action. Leave a comment below. One specific situation today where you will apply one of these tools. But don't rush off. Don't let this video end in emptiness. Watching this video is only the first step. The real challenge is turning this understanding into steady action in the real world. How will you maintain discipline when the initial excitement fades? To help you, I've prepared the next video. It's not a random topic. It's the logical next step on your path. The 1% rule that will change everything. Philosophy of Kaizen. Real results, no hype. Remember to follow the channel to journey with us and watch for the next video. Thank you for watching.